Hi everyone. Before I get started with what I wanted to talk about in this video, I just wanted to mention that I am looking to raise some money for the work that I'm doing, and there's a couple ways that you can give to that. One is to actually give to the organization that I started, the Connect Center, and I'm going to put a link in the description under this video where you can learn more about what the Connect Center is doing and how you can give toward that. And then the other way that you can give is to actually give toward me personally, because I'm moving away from being supported full-time through my church ministry. I have been on staff at Calvary Baptist Church for quite some time. Been working there actually for 17 plus years, but I'm moving away from being a full-time staff member to part-time staff. And eventually I just want to do full-time outreach, mission type work in my area. So if you'd like to give toward that, you can see my email in the link below in the description area. And you can email me about just learning more about how to give, and maybe just letting me know that you're interested in giving. Not any kind of a commitment at this point. I just want to find out who might be interested, and then we'll dialogue more about how you can support me. But that was just really something I wanted to say off the bat before I talk now about a few different things in this video. And a lot of this is going to be related to the trip that I just got back from. You may have seen some updates of a trip that I went on. So I wanted to just talk about where I've been and a little bit about the ministry that I visited down in Tampa, Florida, and then I'd like to talk specifically about my thesis project and hopefully give you just a quick overview and where I'm at with that, so you can understand that a little bit more clearly, hopefully. If not, you can write a question in the comment section below. And then I'd like to finish that all up with talking about my future ministry endeavors and what I want to be getting into in the coming months and years. So as far as my trip, I started in Claremont, New Hampshire, where I live now, went down to New Jersey, and then to Washington, D.C., and then to Charlotte, North Carolina, visited some friends there, Atlanta, Georgia, have a friend there that I visited, and then went to Tampa, Florida, where I visited a ministry down there. And I'll talk more about that coming up, what that ministry was like and what I learned. And then on the way back from Tampa, I went to South Carolina to visit some more friends, and then I got to stay with my great aunt in North Carolina. And then from there went to, actually through Virginia, where I got to visit the campus of Liberty University, which is one of the places that I have studied through. I did my online studies for my Master of Divinity and Worship Studies through Liberty University. And from Liberty I went up to New Jersey again, which is where my parents and my brothers and their families live, as well as my grandparents live there too. So I got to visit family. But really special thing that I got to do on the way back was visit a Bridge Church staff meeting. That's the church that my brother Ron pastors in New Jersey, and they gave me the opportunity to talk a little bit about what I do up in New Hampshire and what I'm working on with my thesis as well. And you're going to get to hear that in a few moments. And then from New Jersey went up to the Boston, Massachusetts area to visit another friend of mine there, who is actually the founding pastor of Symphony Church in Boston. And that was just a wonderful experience there. And then from there to Manchester, New Hampshire, where I have some more friends. And then finally up to Claremont, New Hampshire again, which is where I got back in early July. It was so great to just see so many friends and family members that I don't usually get a chance to see. And I wanted to get away and just be able to think and pray and work a lot on writing for my thesis project. And then aside from writing, I also wanted to visit a ministry in Tampa, Florida that I thought related to my thesis project. What I'd like to do now is just share a little bit about that ministry in Tampa. It's called Tampa Underground. And what they do is they start a lot of micro churches in the Tampa area. and their ministry is twofold. And one part of it is starting these micro churches, and in order to be a micro church, you really have to fulfill 3 different things. And the first is you have to have worship as part of what you do, community, and thirdly, mission. And so they have, I think, over 200 micro churches that they have helped to start. So that's kind of the church side of their ministry, is the micro church. And they call them micro churches because they don't have to be big. They rather have lots of different church expressions. And their micro churches do a lot of different things. And sometimes they're even linked with maybe like some sort of a business that someone started that seeks to help the community. So we visited a couple. One was a coffee shop that was called Ginger Beard Coffee. It's not that the coffee it has ginger red beards in it or anything like that. It's that the guys that started it have red beards, and we can verify that. We saw them in person. And so they have a business that kind of feeds into a discipleship ministry that they do. And another business kind of a thing we looked at that again was kind of linked with the microchurch idea was Well-Built Bikes. It was located in a mall in Tampa, and then they actually do a lot of good charity work through their bike shop. They actually help people get bikes that maybe would have a hard time affording transportation, and they get a good bike at an affordable rate, and probably would even give people a bike for free if they needed it, and other people could donate to help with that. Anyway, it just gives you an idea of the kind of innovative outreaching ministry that the microchurches are involved with. And all that to say, you know, that they don't just do like business stuff. Really, they are these little church discipleship communities that reach out into their world. And the leaders of each of those churches feel called to reach out to a certain people group, to a group of people that maybe have a certain need or fit a certain demographic of the culture. But they're really focused a lot down there on poverty, stricken type areas and high need situations. So I was really drawn to that because I think, number one, it's what Jesus does call us to do. Reach out to the poor, reach out to those who are in need. But also because it's really overlapping a lot with the people that I'm working with up here who want to reach out into areas that are high need areas. So that's the microchurch aspect of Underground. And then the other part of it really just helps start those microchurches and support those microchurches. And it is the nonprofit wing of the Underground. And the nonprofit wing serves as a service platform. And they do everything from coaching and helping microchurch leaders do what they do well, helping provide facilities so that people can plan or they can host meetings or whatever they need. They help microchurch leaders and others with their finances, because in order to run microchurches, it does take money, and it's important to do things in a legal way. So they provide financial services. They also help them with media, because there's a lot of microchurch leaders that might be really good at helping a certain need. You know, maybe it's women who have been involved in abusive relationships. They're good at helping those women, but they're not necessarily good at constructing media to promote what they're doing. And so they will offer media services for those microchurches. And then they also offer training, which includes seminars, theological training, and ordination. Really fascinating ministry. I mean, there's a lot more that I could say about it. My friend Mike Dion, who lives in Springfield, Vermont, not far from where I live, flew down and met me there, and we spent a few days interacting with the Underground church people. Even got to visit one of the microchurches that was more like a house church. And we just found it very fascinating to learn from them. But it was also great because we got to encourage each other and just dialogue and think about everything that we were experiencing and learning as we were down there. And so it was great to spend time with Mike. that kind of gets me now to my thesis project and what I'm actually doing up where I live. And so for my thesis project, I had to look at what are the challenges of the area that I live in. What are the things that I'm dealing with in my ministry context and that a lot of people who live in our area are dealing with. And I've identified 4 different issues. The first, where we live, the 2 least church states in the United States of America. They battle it out for being the least church states, New Hampshire and Vermont. And where I live is right on the border of those 2 states. And what I have identified in that is that there is really a trend in our country towards secularism. In other words, we're moving a lot from our Judeo-Christian foundation. And the forefront of that movement towards secularism is in places like where I live. Places like Vermont, New Hampshire, obviously really all of New England is experiencing that. And on the West Coast as well, certainly. And it's certainly seeping into many parts of our country and many aspects of our culture, but we're kind of on the front end of that. So we live in a really unchurched area. Like, a lot of people don't go to church, don't really see the point of it or the need for it, or really even understand it that much. There's more and more people that don't have any experience with church. Another issue is the lack of gospel ministry. We really don't have as many churches as other places. Or maybe they're just not really clear on the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I'm not trying to say that so much as a pure criticism, as just an observation of really the issue we're dealing with. There are vast areas in Upper New England where there's really no strong church and no real strong witness for Jesus Christ in certain communities, in certain areas. So there's a lack of gospel ministry. And then thirdly, we have a lot of needs. We have a high amount of needs. I'm not saying it's the neediest place on planet Earth by any stretch, but there are definitely needs. There's a drug crisis up here, as with a lot of places. There are a lot of kids that are in foster care and are in need of good homes, even in need of adoption in some cases. There are many other personal, emotional, physical, and spiritual needs that people have, but sadly a lack of resources to meet all of those needs. And finally, there's a disconnect between church and culture. In other words, we're doing our church thing, and a lot of times we're doing what we do really well, but it's not really affecting the culture, and it's not really having that much of an intersection and impact with the culture around us. It's like, wow, this is great what we're doing, but is it really something the community is aware of? A good question with this is, what kind of a difference would it make in our community if our church wasn't there? So really, really important question to ask. And these are all issues and cultural realities that we're looking at where we are in Upper New England. So what I've done is I've tried to create an organization and an initiative to help with these issues. And the Connect Center is the way that we do that. The Connect Center is an organization that I started about 4 years ago. And we have various things that we do, but to kind of summarize and relate it to what I talked about just now, we are a missional incubator. We're trying to help more and more people to know about Jesus Christ and help the church to really reach out with the message of Jesus. So we're a missional incubator, helping the church to be on mission. Number 2, we believe in discipleship multiplication. Jesus said, make disciples of all nations and teach them everything that I've commanded you. And what he's saying is help people to know who I am and to follow me. And so we want to help with that endeavor. Number 3, we're a church networking organization because we really believe that churches are going to be much more impacting and much more far-reaching if they are able to work together rather than try to do things on their own individually. So we help churches network and work together for the sake of mission. And fourthly, we are a business location. We actually have storefront space in downtown Claremont. And this is exciting because it gives us a chance to really be in the community and really be visible in the community and to interact with community leaders and business owners and other influential people, but also just to be accessible to the average person who lives in our little city. And so when people are walking by, they can walk in, and we actually provide them with resources and information and help get them connected with all different kinds of helps. Some of those helps are just community organizations and community programs that are out there that they didn't know about. Sometimes it's church programs and church people that can really be of assistance to them. So these are the strategies that we're utilizing at the Connect Center to try to help meet those challenges that we see in the four cultural realities that I've identified. That is basically what I'm working on in relation to my thesis. And so my thesis is 5 chapters. I'm supposed to write 5 chapters. When I took my trip, I was able to finish up a few of those chapters. I actually had 1 chapter already completed. The second one I had been working on, and I was able to finish that up and then write chapter 3 and chapter 4, at least a rough draft of those chapters. And I still have to finish up chapter 5 and then defend the thesis. And once it's defended before a group of committee members, then hopefully it gets approved and accepted, and I will actually receive my Doctor of Ministry degree. I don't think I said it before, but this is a thesis I'm working on for a Doctor of Ministry in church planting and multiplication. And so a lot of this that I'm working on is related to how to help the church expand and grow in its efforts. I'm not necessarily trying to start new churches myself at this point, but certainly helping others to do that or to think about how we can do that in an optimal way. So I still have work to do with the thesis, and the hypothesis, if you're interested of this project, is that networking churches through the Connect Center initiative will have measurable impact in relation to the present cultural realities of Upper New England. There's more that I say about that in the thesis, but basically what I am testing is, are the things that we're doing through the Connect Center actually making a measurable difference? Are they having a good impact in the life of the church and in the community at large? And so I hope that when we begin to test these things, when we maybe do some focus group feedback type stuff or survey type stuff, that the feedback that we get and the information that we get will be that, yes, the Connect Center is actually making a difference. So that's basically where I'm at with my thesis project and what it's about. If you have any questions about that, just ask me in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. The final thing that I want to talk about are my future ministry endeavors. Like, what am I going to be doing in the coming weeks and months? Well, one thing is I'm going to be speaking at different churches. I've already had the opportunity to speak at various churches over the years from different denominations, and I love to do that because I love to encourage God's people. So if you know of a church that could use someone to come and speak for a Sunday, or maybe even some other time during the week, just to be a blessing to the people of that congregation, I love to encourage churches. Number 2, I plan hopefully to start something in Claremont here, but it may expand out to other places too. That's my hope, and it would be kind of an evangelistic look at the life of Jesus based on a little book called The Story of Jesus. And it really, the story of Jesus, the book is just taking scripture passages and weaving them together into chapters so that you can just read about the life of Jesus from the Gospels. And then we can talk about that and answer people's questions and have a good time together. But what this study would do, one, is it would just help Christians to know who Jesus was better and understand the Christian faith better. But also for non-believers, people that are maybe searching, or people that used to go to church and don't go, and they just don't really know where they are spiritually, to be able to talk to them about Jesus and answer questions that they have, and for all of us to learn. it's always good to study the life of Jesus. But this would be evangelistic oriented in what we do. So that's the second thing. Number 3 would be starting new discipleship groups. Now, there's going to be work to do. I hope if we can start evangelistic studies, that would actually grow into ongoing discipleship groups. And again, our goal is hopefully to lead more and more people to understand who Jesus is and to help them to follow Him. Number 4 would be videos, producing videos. My hope is to keep making videos kind of like this, not necessarily as long. This was a really long video, but I want to start at least a channel on YouTube, maybe a couple of channels, and just explore some different ideas with videos. I think media production is a really powerful tool in today's world, and that's why I'm making a video like this. And then finally, I am looking to raise money for all of these endeavors. When I do things like videos, just like all the other stuff I'm doing, it's really to share about the message of Jesus. And as you can tell from what I've said, we live in an area where I live, there's just very little church ministry, relatively speaking, to the amount of region that we live in. There are just so many towns and so many places where they don't really have a strong gospel witness. So if you'd like to help us in this endeavor, again, there's 2 ways you can do that. I would encourage you to look at the video where there's a link in the description below, and you can actually look at this video that was put together by Indelible Inc., which is it's actually an organization that Mike Dion, my friend who met me in Tampa, started. And they did a great job producing this video, telling about the Connect Center and how you can give to the Connect Center ministry. And then finally, you can also email me. I mentioned this before, but email me. I'll put that down below too, my email address. And if you're just interested in giving, you don't have to put an amount at this point. I would love for people to give on a monthly basis. That would really help me out. I'll get some numbers up eventually, and you'll be able to see what my real needs are. But again, I'm moving away from being a full-time church staff member. I also have part-time work as a community bus driver, which is great. But I want to have the time to do these types of things and not to be having to charge churches and new ministries for what I do. So if you would like to help support me as a missionary, you can just let me know. And even if you don't know for sure that you want to do it, or you don't have an amount, that's okay. I would just appreciate if you're interested in talking a little bit more about that. So email me if you are interested. There are just so many things that I could say, but I have taken up a lot of time, so I'm going to end it there. I hope that this was informative for those of you who are like, so what's he up to? What's going on? Well, that's basically it right now, and I don't want to ramble on anymore, so thank you so much for watching. Again, let me know if you have any questions in the comments below.